The IMF just cut its global growth forecast. Not because of a banking crisis, not because of a pandemic, because of a war and a closed strait, and a stagflating superpower that cannot decide whether to fight inflation or unemployment. In the next 10 minutes, I am going to show you the IMF's 3 scenarios for 2026. And only one of them ends without a global recession. The International Monetary Fund does not issue recession warnings lightly. It is the world's economic referee. 190 member countries, $1 trillion in lending capacity, decades of data on how crises spread from one economy to another. When the IMF says the words global recession risk, markets move, governments respond, central banks recalibrate. This week, in its April 2026 World Economic Outlook titled Global Economy in the Shadow of War, the IMF did exactly that. It cut its global growth forecast to 3.1%. It warned that if the Strait of Hormuz stays closed, growth could fall to 2.5%. And in its worst-case scenario, global growth drops to 2%. Inflation exceeds 6%. And the world enters a synchronized recession not seen since 2009. The IMF laid out 3 scenarios, and I want to walk you through each one, because the gap between them is being determined right now as we speak. Scenario 1. Best case. The conflict ends quickly. Hormuz reopens. Global growth holds at 3.1%. This is their most optimistic baseline, and it already assumes oil at $82 a barrel. So even the good scenario is not actually good. Scenario 2. Adverse case. The conflict drags on, energy prices spike, growth falls to 2.5%, inflation climbs to 5.4%, Iran, Qatar, Iraq, Kuwait, Bahrain, all contract. Scenario 3. Severe case. Energy disruptions extend into 2027. Inflation expectations become unanchored. Global growth collapses to 2%. Inflation exceeds 6%. This is a synchronized global recession. The last time the world was here was 2009. Here is what a US recession combined with a Hormuz shutdown does to the rest of the world. Country by country, Europe is already frozen, consumer spending stalled by uncertainty. If the US falls into recession, European growth stalls below 1%. China is in a different kind of trouble. Real GDP growth in 2026 could be as low as 2.5%. Its property sector has never fully recovered. And if US consumers stop buying Chinese exports, which they will in a recession, China's industrial output takes a direct hit. Emerging markets face the worst of all worlds. A strong dollar makes their debt more expensive to service. Commodity prices fall as global demand drops. But their energy import costs do not fall. They get squeezed from both ends. Japan, which holds $1.2 trillion in US Treasuries, is in a bind. If they sell to cover energy costs, US bond yields spike. If they hold, their currency weakens. There is no clean move. Here is the part of this story that goes beyond the immediate crisis. The World Economic Forum ranked geoeconomic confrontation as the #1 risk most likely to trigger a global crisis in 2026. Not climate change, not AI, not pandemics. Geoeconomic confrontation. What we are watching right now is not an isolated event. The Hormuz closure, the tariff war, the dollar under pressure, the bond market stress. These are all manifestations of the same underlying shift. A world reorganizing itself away from the post-1945 cooperative order. The IMF models the long-run cost of this fragmentation at 7% of global GDP. That is roughly $7 trillion a year in permanently lost economic output every year, not just in 2026. The Hormuz crisis, the stagflation, the recession risk, they are not the story, they are the symptoms. The story is a world that is fracturing, and the fracture is widening. The IMF just cut its global growth forecast, not because of a banking crisis, not because of a pandemic, because of a war and a closed strait, and a stagflating superpower that cannot decide whether to fight inflation or unemployment. In the next 10 minutes, I am going to show you the IMF's 3 scenarios for 2026, and only one of them ends without a global recession.